This episode of Mailbag is sponsored in part by Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile, guys, when I signed up for it, I saved almost 60% on my personal phone bill. Go and check out mintmobile.com. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, I'm awfully glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we take the second half of the show to take your live comments and questions. However, what happens if you're one of those people who watches the show one of the other 22 hours during the day and you're not watching live? Well, if you've got a thought, opinion, theory, question that you want to ask me or sometimes Rob, you can send in a question for us to address on Mailbag. To send one in, simply go down to the description of this video and click on the tip link, or you can enter it in that manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question read on Mailbag if we deem your comment or question to be appropriate for our show. And of course, you'll be supporting the channel at the same time. And all of us involved with the John Campea Show, thank you guys so much for your support. All right, guys, let's not waste any time. We got a bunch of questions that you guys have sent in, so let's start getting to it right now. And we're going to start things off here with one from Frankie Googe, who writes, Amazon did it again after the weird Outer Range, which kind of I wasn't super happy with. Anyway, another new Strange series, Night Sky with J.K. Simmons and Sissy Spacek. Worth a try just to watch them two. Yeah, I started watching Outer Rim when I was up in Canada visiting my family. And I really loved like the first 3-4 episodes. And then it really went, for me personally, it went really downhill after that. And by the time the season ended, I was kind of really unsatisfied with it. But that was just me. But yes, this Night Sky, I haven't started checking it out yet, but J.K. Simmons, Sissy Spacek, I mean, those two names alone totally makes it worth checking out, Frankie. I'm glad you think so too. All right, thanks for putting that on everybody's radar. Next, Your Name writes, regarding the Nicole Kidman ad on AMC, Cinemark chain has an in-theater ad comparing screen sizes of typical TV to that of a theater. So, Regal may have their own in-theater ad. Between watching Vibro or Nicole Kidman ad, I'd always prefer the latter. Again, I am, what's the word? Bitter? Maybe bitter? Yeah, I'm bitter at the fact that in these movie theaters, they're already wasting almost a half hour of our time by showing us commercials for almost a full half hour. When they said a movie starts at 7 and it's like 7:25 and the movie still hasn't started yet. Then after wasting all of our time that way, they then pull out a commercial. And I don't even mind a commercial saying, hey, come to the lobby and buy a soda, right? Because that's something I can actually act on. When you show us a commercial to come to a place that I'm already at, come to AMC theaters. Well, I'm at AMC theaters. Just even delaying and wasting more of my time, I got to tell you, yeah, that makes me bitter. It makes me angry and bitter. Your name, it really does. All right, next up, Jonathan Naimella writes, hello, John and crew. I just met Gina Carano at MegaCon 2022. Very cool. She is amazing. Gina was so ecstatic when I told her that she was my favorite actress. Okay. She fangirl around me. I also met Elijah Woods. It was magical, and the rest of the hobbits in Lord of the Rings. What an experience. Well, that's pretty cool. Listen, I've been a fan of Gina Carano ever since especially back since when she was an MMA fighter. I used to love watching her fight. I thought she was great. Her fight against Cyborg, legendary, right? She did much better against Cyborg than I think a lot of people thought she could. Obviously, she lost the fight, but yeah, she actually stood toe-to-toe with Cyborg there for a while. Not a lot of people on the planet can say they've done that. I don't think she's a very good actress. I mean, she's never been a very good actress, but once she got into Mandalorian, I'm like, okay, she started to show some stuff. You know what I mean? She started to show glimpses of that. Maybe she's got some potential. Unfortunately, never got a chance to fulfill that. But hey, the most important thing is you get to meet some of the people that you really love to watch. That's cool. Probably the coolest part about going to these cons. I'm glad you had a good time, Jonathan. All right, next up. Jonathan also writes in again. Hello, John and crew. Just me today. I was just wondering, what is your most magical film star meet and star meet and greet. Was there any star that you felt connected to? For the rest of the crew, what is your most magical celebrity meet and greet? Well, obviously, Mailbag, we don't have the whole crew here. What is your most magical meet and greet? What is it like being a celebrity? Okay, so I've never really met any celebrities at meet and greets. I've obviously met a lot of them like doing press and when they would come to my studio or stuff like that, like stuff in the course of the job. I'd say the one I was most excited about and most thrilled about was meeting Harrison Ford. And I've had a chance to meet and interview Harrison Ford on a couple of occasions. But obviously, growing up, Han Solo, Indiana Jones, not to mention the other dozen films that he's done that are all fantastic. So that to me was really great. One of the most fun ones I've ever done was when Vince Vaughn and Chris Pratt came into our studio for like a couple of hours. They came in, hung out. We did like a 20-minute interview, and then they hung around in our studio and used our space and our computers to do a live Twitter Q&A for a while, and they were hilarious and wonderful, and that was a lot of group. What is it like being a celebrity? I do not consider myself a celebrity. At most, I am a C or D list celebrity at most, but I'll tell you what, it's a lot of fun. It just happened again last night. Ann and I go to dinner and people come up to the table and say, big fan of the show and whatever. And listen, I'm not going to lie to you. You want to make a loser nobody from Canada feel like $1 million. I mean, that just doesn't. Whenever people come up to us, whether we're at the movies or out at restaurants or just walking around Burbank or whatever, and they come up to us and say hello. It was funny because me, Ray, Ann, and our buddy Ryan, we had to go to a Guitar Center the other day, and I can't remember what we were there for. And this guy came walking up to us. We thought we had done something wrong the way he was walking up, and he just walked up to us like, just wanted to let you guys know I'm a big fan of the show, blah, blah, blah. I'll tell you what, it makes this loser nobody from Canada feel like $1 million. It really does feel great. But yes, at best, and I'm being generous here, I am a C or D list internet celebrity, not a celebrity at all. But it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun when people come up and say hi and say that they like the show or whatever. It makes us feel like rock stars for like 5 seconds. So it's pretty cool. All right. Thanks for that, Jonathan. All right. Next up, Eric Dubon writes, hey, John, do you think that the CW Flash will move over to the HBO Max platform since Superman and Lois will move over to HBO Max? I think the Flash show is approaching its end. I mean, they might actually have it move over, like the archive of it move over to HBO Max. But I don't know if they'll do that for its next season, which I believe will probably be its final season. Then again, I really thought this season was going to be its final season, but it's a show that's run out of gas and they need to end it soon. But I think the archive of the show will ultimately live on HBO Max, I think. All right, next up. Jonathan writes in again. He writes, hello, John and crew. I'm a huge fan of Emma Stone's work. She is a brilliant actress. She's an Academy Award winning actress. She is the GOAT in Hollywood. I would not say she is the GOAT, but she is a fantastic actress. What is your favorite Emma Stone film? Have you met Miss Stone in person? I have. Actually, when I'm doing the post-production, I'll put up the first time I met Emma Stone. Well, let me finish reading your question. Have you met Miss Stone in person? When is her short film, Bleat, released worldwide? Never heard of her short film, Bleat. So the first time I met Emma Stone was I got invited to be an extra in a movie she was in with Rainn Wilson, who was Dwight from The Office, called The Rocker. And at that point, Emma Stone was not a big star. She wasn't the big star that she obviously is today. And I was an extra on that, got to meet her there. And then the next time I met her I think it was at CinemaCon. Yes, it was at CinemaCon. And I got to meet and interview her again and talk to her again afterwards. And she's great and wonderful. I introduced myself to her. I said, I often refer to you as my co-star in The Rocker, which she thought was pretty cute. And somebody got a picture of it. Anyway, yeah, love Emma Stone. Terrific actress. She's already got one Oscar. She's going to have one or two more before her career's done. All right, next up. We've got Back on the Lunchbox. Again, a little Multiverse of Madness reference there. Robert John, me today. Here's a fun one for y'all. In what order will these actors look their age in 5 to 10 years? Tom Cruise, Paul Rudd, Jennifer Lopez, Keira Knightley, Cate Blanchett. Order from first to last age. Now, I'm not gonna address that. Like, talk about how fast will people start looking old. No, I'm not gonna do that. Listen, they're all gonna look their age in 10 years. I mean, there's no getting around that. They're all absolutely gonna look their age in 10 years. But I'm not gonna sit here and start talking about which one of these human beings do I think is going to start looking old and decrepit sooner. I'm not going to do that. All right, next up. Link writes, happy 30th anniversary to the Stone Cold best film of 1992, Encino Man. When can we expect the film club episode? Hashtag Wheeze the Juice. Oh my goodness. Pauly Shore, Brendan Fraser. Man, I haven't thought about that movie in a while. I mean, obviously not the best movie in 1992, but I got a kick out of it. No, obviously no movie club about that one. That's a movie I got a kick out of. All right. That 30 years though, man, time flies. All right, guys, we want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. You know, the one with the delightful ads with good Canadian kid Ryan Reynolds. So look, after years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't a catch. And guys, that's no joke, because for years I've been using one of the major providers and it was fine. But I switched over to Mint Mobile a little while ago. The service has been fantastic. And the big difference is I'm now paying about 1/3 of what I was paying before. And the best part for anybody who just hates their phone bills is that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. Jerome writes, why do you think fans put so much pressure on franchises like Star Wars, Star Trek, and others to write good stories, or specifically a good story that recreates what they love about the franchise? Well, I mean, it's the same thing about why does a fan put pressure on their favorite sports team to win? Because we love that, right? We love, if you're a Star Trek fan, we love Star Trek. And we want to see great stories that are like the Star Trek we remember, because that's kind of what we are. Same goes for Star Wars. Same goes for anything, really. Like, if you loved the Harry Potter movies, not only do you want good Fantastic Beasts movies, and whether they've succeeded at that or not is up to the individual, but not only do you want good Fantastic Beasts movies, because you love Harry Potter, you also want to see in the Fantastic Beasts films the things that made you love Harry Potter. Right? It's a natural human tendency, but I think it transcends even just movies or entertainment. It probably also includes food or sports or things like that. And it's kind of a natural thing. All right, next up, Michael Kurtz writes, hey, John, I don't buy the narrative that Marvel deaths mean nothing because of the multiverse. It happened once with Gamora, which they'll address in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and with Loki, but that's always been his shtick. Don't love the multiverse hate. Opinion? Oh, yeah, no, it absolutely does. Because what multiverse does, now granted, they're only getting started in multiverse right now. They're just getting started. But I guarantee you it's going to become a bigger problem. Because narratively now, they have just given themselves a free get out of jail free card. It's like, man, we really wanted to tell this big, compelling story where, I don't know, just pull a character out of it. Where Captain, Falcon, Captain America, Sam, Captain America, sacrifices himself to save a town or something like that, right? Well, now Marvel's got this real easy peasy way, but we've got Sam, we've got like 3 other movies and TV shows planned for this character. Well, no problem. He can sacrifice himself, and then we can just say, Ned from Spider-Man, who now has magical powers, Ned opens up a doorway between one of the other dimensions. And that Captain America comes through. Great, no problem. They've given themselves an easy, lazy way to get around it. Look, you may say, well, they've only done it with Loki and they've done it with Gamora. Okay, yeah, but they've just gotten started. And look at what they did with Gamora. In Infinity War, Gamora had this emotional, heart-wrenching, beautiful experience as an audience member watching as Thanos sacrifices her and she falls to her death in the sad music. She's falling in. And what did Marvel do? Don't worry, everybody. See, Marvel, she's back. Gamora's back. And don't give me this nonsense. Well, see, John, it's not technically the same Gamora. It's still Gamora. She's back, right? No consequences, no negative effects. We're right back. Now it's Gamora. And then they're going to have a little Guardians of the Galaxy movie where they go off to find the new Gamora. And then it's going to be Gamora's back and, everything's fine. Loki, they've done it so many times. They didn't even need Multiverse to do it, but they've done it with Loki multiple times. You're right. That is kind of his shtick. But yeah, believe you me, they're going to do it more. And again, the more they've done that, the more it's going to take away from the sense of stakes and consequences because they've always just got 55. Hey, Winter Soldier died. No problem. We got 55 other Winter Soldiers we can bring in just like that. And yeah, that is a problem, Michael. You may not see it yet, but it is a problem. All right. Next up, Jerome writes, what makes a movie faith-based? What makes a movie a faith-based movie? Like, for example, could movies like Silence, The Green Mile, Forrest Gump, or Hacksaw Ridge that feature characters of faith be considered in the faith-based genre? That's a very good question. I mentioned before, I really don't like faith-based films, and I developed that dislike of faith-based films, oddly enough, when me and my friends were all in seminary and Bible college. We really disliked faith-based films. They're really bad. And we thought that as seminary students. But what is a faith-based film? Okay, so not everybody will agree on this definition, but here's how I kind of make the distinction in my own head. You see, you can have a movie where you can have a character of faith, and that character and their faith are a part of the story. Right? Like a great example of that is Hacksaw Ridge. God, I love Hacksaw Ridge. Such a good movie. And in it, there's a character, and the prime motivating factor for that character is their faith. That's great. And that's a marvelous movie. It's fantastic. Forrest Gump, Green Mile, stuff like that. A faith-based film is where the movie itself is not based on a character who has faith. It is based on the faith and the promotion of the faith, right? When I watch Hacksaw Ridge, I don't at all get the impression or the feeling that this is a movie that is trying to promote that faith. It is simply telling me a very compelling story about a character who themselves are motivated by that faith. Sure. But to me, that's the line. That's the difference, right? So you can have a movie like, Silence or Hacksaw Ridge who have characters who have faith, and faith is a part of the story. But faith-based films, like real faith-based films, faith is the story. And the promotion of that faith is the story. And those I usually find are horrible crap as movies. But again, that's just my take. I know people who really like faith-based movies, and if you do, that's awesome. But that's how I make my own personal distinction. How anybody else makes a distinction with them is up to the individual. All right, thanks for writing, Jerome. Next up, Remember Bulldog writes, Part 1. Hey, John, just watched the Thor Love and Thunder trailer, and I'm going to say this after seeing it. This will be the best comic book movie by the end of the year, and Gore looks fantastic. That's why Marvel changes his look, because if they try to make him like in the comics, he would have been all CGI and not as intimidating as he is now. I agree. Now, look, you guys know me. CGI is a great tool, and this whole thing, practical's always better. No, it's not. It is not. That is just an absurd thing to say. Completely absurd. And I say that as somebody who worked in the visual effects industry. To say that, practical's always better. No, that's completely absurd. Sometimes practical is absolutely the better way to go. And sometimes CGI is absolutely the right way to go. So like you're going to do Hulk. Well, that's just got to be CGI. We don't want Lou Ferrigno running around in body paint and stuff like that. We don't want that, right? In a situation like this, though, where the character of Gore the God Butcher, if you've read the stories in the comics, the character is so compelling and wonderful. And quite frankly, it's a pretty pedestrian alien design, to be honest with you, in the comic. It's a pretty pedestrian design, but it's the kind of design that if you wanted to do it in a live action movie, you would have to make him a CGI character. Well, if you're going to do this character, and 99.5% of the audience who are going to go to this movie have never read this comic book story and have never seen Gore in the comic books, and his physical appearance isn't important to the story, which it's not, and you have the opportunity to have an actor like Christian Bale play it, do you really want to make that a CGI character? I don't think so. I think they absolutely made the right decision with this. I think he looks terrifying and horrifying. And I generally find the only people who don't are the 0.5% of us who have read the comic book story, just because we only know him as that way. So we want to see him that way. But, whatever. It is what it is. What ultimately matters is not whether he looks good or bad. Because at the end of the day, that won't mean crap. What matters is do they write the character well and make a good movie? That's all that matters at the end of the day. All right, thanks for writing that in, Remmer. All right, next up, we've got Jerome, who writes in again. If a character dies and a version of that character comes from another timeline/universe, does the consciousness/soul of the dead character jump into the other version? And if not, doesn't that mean they're technically still dead? I mean, sure, they're technically still dead. But again, like I was saying a little bit earlier, that's like trying to find a legal loophole in the argument. The fact of the matter is, in one movie, like let's use Gamora again as an example. She died. Powerful, emotional, really moving, consequence heavy ending in death for Gamora. Right next movie. Look, everybody, Gamora's back. And again, you can make the right, well, technically this Gamora is from a different time. So since she's from a different time thing, it's Gamora. It's Gamora. And now next time Gamora dies, I'm not going to see, that's why, because of Marvel's being the Marvel fake death cinematic universe, like when Tom Holland died at the end of Infinity War, it was a beautiful scene, beautifully acted by everybody. It's a great scene. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy the scene. I do. But I didn't feel when I don't want to go, Mr. Stark. When he's doing that scene, I did not feel the depth that I could have felt in that scene if it wasn't for the fact that I knew it's like, oh yeah, but he's not actually dying. He's going to be back. This isn't like the character is not dying. They may die right now temporarily, but they're going to be back. We're not losing Superman. We're not losing Spider-Man. He's going to be right back. Just wait a couple of minutes and he will be right back. It took away from it. That's why also like at the end of the other deaths, like when Black Panther dusts, it's like, yeah, it's temporarily gone. We know they're not going to be gone for long. Hell, even Vision, they killed Vision twice and they still brought him back. But John, now it's White Vision. Whatever, it's Vision. They brought him back too. And that's why when Tony Stark had his great ending at the end of Endgame, he dies. It was a great scene and I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't feel it because he's going to be back. Robert Downey Jr. will be back. It may not be for another 2 or 3 years, but Robert Downey Jr. will be back. I mean, because nobody really dies in these universes. So I feel like we're kind of robbed a little bit of that. Anyway, next up, Remember Bulldog writes, part 1. Agree with you that even though I really like the MCU Phase 4, it hasn't been as good as Phase 3, even though I like Loki more than you do. But why do you think that this phase has been really good but not fantastic, like the other Phase 3? Do you think it's because there's a new person in charge of Disney, or do you think it's because Marvel's new to TV and they're still trying to figure out the TV structure? And what would you like to see MCU improve going forward? All right, so I've talked about this a few times. Look, do not get me wrong. I am a big MCU fan, and I continue to be a big MCU fan. There's a lot of stuff they've put out that I really like. Actually, they've only put out one thing in the last year and a half, 2 years that I straight up don't like, and that was Hawkeye. Even though I'm a big Jeremy Renner fan and a big fan of the character Hawkeye in the MCU, I just thought the series was bad. I like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I like it. Thumbs up from me, but I did not love it. I liked Loki. Thumbs up from me, but I didn't love it. I thought Black Widow was okay, but certainly didn't love it. What's another one? Anyway, what I believe the difference here now is I think part of it is that they haven't quite found their groove with television yet and the format of that. That's part of it, I think. But ultimately, what I think the underlying problem is, and again, they're still putting out good stuff. It's just not that level of excellence that we've become accustomed to over the last 13, 14 years. They're still putting out good stuff. It's just not as good. And some things are brilliant. Shang-Chi was brilliant. Spider-Man No Way Home was brilliant. WandaVision was brilliant. But I think the problem is, and I've said this for a long time, I believe the problem is they're stretched too thin. I straight up just think they're making too much stuff. Like Kevin Feige used to be able to have a very direct hand on all the Marvel stuff that was being made. But I remember I was talking to him back when they were putting out like 3 things a year, and he was feeling frazzled. He was feeling frazzled by it. There was a lot going on for one guy to kind of be the master steering hand of that ship. It was an endeavor. But now they've got like 8 things coming out a year. And that means that Kevin Feige is going to be less and less directly involved with everything that's coming out. He's going to have to delegate a lot more stuff out. And I think what we're seeing here is the more you try to produce, the little bit less of quality you're going to get. Now, some better ideas. Let's say you had 10 great ideas. 10 great ideas. Story ideas. Great narrative paths. Great character arcs. Great joke. Great whatever. Let's say you had 10 great things and you had 3 movies coming out this year. Well, now each one of those movies can have 3 of those 10 great things, and one of them gets a bonus one, right? Now you got 8 things coming out in a year. Now every one of them gets one of those good ideas, 1.5, whatever. It's just they're stretched too thin. I really believe that is the root cause for their quality level. Again, their quality level, I believe, is still good. I'm very excited about it. Cannot wait for Thor, Love and Thunder. Loved a lot of things that they've done, but I feel like their standard has come down a little bit just because they're spread too thin. So, but anyway, that's just I know there are other people who disagree with me on that, and that's totally fine. That's just my take on it, and we'll see what happens. All right, thanks for that, Remmer. All right, next up. Remmer Bulldog writes in again, and he writes, Part 1. Also, we might have to adjust our expectations that there are some MCU movies / TV shows that aren't going to be fantastic and just really good, and that's okay. As long as they keep really good quality, then I'm okay with that. With the MCU putting out way more content, they're not going to always be fantastic because the Infinity Saga didn't have Disney Plus TV shows like Phase 4 does. As long as they keep improving on their Disney Plus shows, I'm okay with that. Thanks, and bring on the filthy. And yeah, listen, just because I'm a little concerned, not negative, not completely worried, just a little concerned. I'm a little concerned about them being a little stretched, maybe a little bit too thin. The reality is, as long as they don't continue to try to expand more, they can find their footing. And again, like I said, even while they're doing all this expansion, we got WandaVision, which was fantastic. Spider-Man, No Way Home, fantastic. Shang-Chi, fantastic, right? So they can still deliver that stuff. And we'll just have to take it on a project by project basis, Remmer. Thanks for writing in. All right, next up. Alex Hale writes, Hey, John and crew. I can't wait for the Bob's Burgers movie this Friday. And as of typing this message, it has a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. Does this change your excitement level for the film? And how are you expecting it to perform? Thanks, and bring on the filthy. Well, I know Ray is super excited for this movie. Like, very, very excited for this movie. He loves Bob's Burgers. So, he's drooling at the mouth for this. Not so much me. For whatever reason, Bob's Burgers, it's just one of those shows where it either hits with you or it doesn't. And with Ray, totally hits with him. For me, it doesn't quite land with me. I've tried watching a few episodes, mostly because the guy who does the voice of Bob's Burgers is also the guy who does the voice of Archer, and Archer is like one of my favorite animated shows. But its style of humor and its particular approach doesn't quite land with me. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. So I would not say I'm excited for this movie, even though it has like a 97%. I'm certainly going to check it out. But I'd be lying if I told you that drove me to being quote unquote excited, because I'm not quite excited for it yet, but I know Ray is. Okay, next up, Joe Ireland writes, "Greetings from Ireland, you don't say. I was looking at Disney Plus and saw a new film, The Valet, which is from Lionsgate, our Disney licensing content from other studios. In Europe, Hulu content often appears as a part of Star within Disney Plus. Keep up the good work." Well, yeah, but as far as Hulu goes, remember, Hulu is owned by Disney. Disney owns Hulu. So Hulu content being on Disney Plus through whatever avenue is really not a surprise at all, because Disney owns Hulu. They own Hulu. As a matter of fact, in North America, I don't know if this is true where in Ireland, but in North America, you can get ESPN Plus, Hulu, and Disney Plus as a package deal, because all three of those are owned by Disney, right? Now, as far as The Valet, I've seen ads for it. I haven't watched it myself. I did not know that was done by Lionsgate. If it's a Lionsgate project and they're putting it on Disney Plus, I mean, I guess they are licensing content that isn't directly made by them. I mean, I didn't think they were, but that would make sense with that, Joe. Thanks for letting me know about that, man. I didn't know that before. Thank you. All right. Next up, Jerome writes, "I think Superman and Lois has been trying to unjob Superman by how the show doesn't talk about Supergirl, and they even retcon things, and other than Diggle, there has been no other crossover. So in your opinion, what else do they have to do?" Well, honestly, I don't know. I don't watch Superman and Lois. I mean, I watched like the first 10 episodes of it, and I really quite liked it. I thought it was quite good. And then the Diggle episode happened, and it just kind of, there was a disconnect for me there. Even though I kind of wanted to still watch it, my mind was just disinterested after that. So I just didn't watch it anymore after that. So if you continue to watch it and like it, that's awesome. That's great. But I can't say what they need to do or not do just because I don't watch the show. So I can't really answer that, unfortunately. All right, next up. TJ Marino writes, "Hey, John/Rob, just me today. I understand all film is subjective, and even though Star Wars and Lord of the Rings are number 3 and 4 respectively on my list of all-time favorite movies, there are actually 2 movies I rank as my number 1 and number 2. My number 2 is Serenity with Nathan Fillion. Well, you know what? Let me finish getting... I'm assuming, yeah, there you go. And my number 1 of all time is Fallen, the Denzel Washington film with Denzel Washington, John Goodman, and Donald Sutherland. I never met anyone, good Canadian kid, by the way, Donald Sutherland. I never met anyone who knows or likes these films. And I was wondering, do you have a favorite film that not a lot of people know, like, or talk about? Which, I mean, I've lots of them, but I'm sure I talk about them all the time. So let me talk about these 2. So I like Fallen. It's certainly not in my top 100 films of all time, but I certainly like it. So for those of you who don't know anything about Fallen, it's one of Denzel's only supernatural. He might have 1 or 2 other ones, but anyway, it's one of the only supernatural films that he's done, where it's like there's this killer and he's a demon who passes from one person to the next by touching them. It's kind of freaky. I like it. It's a good movie. Not one of my favorites ever, but it's a good one. But Serenity. So Serenity, some of you people who even watched Firefly may not know this. Serenity is a sequel to Firefly. Firefly was a very short-lived 1-season show on Fox that has a huge cult following. And then years later, Joss Whedon made a movie of it that was kind of the follow-up to the series called Serenity. Serenity was honestly one of the best sci-fi films I'd seen that decade. I loved it. And most importantly, that movie introduced me to an actor by the name of Chiwetel Ejiofor, who right now you can see him as playing Mordo in Doctor Strange. But I was introduced to Chiwetel Ejiofor in Serenity, and he played the antagonist of the film called The Operative. And he is one of the best villains in sci-fi history. I really, not a super popular movie, but I'm telling you, The Operative in Serenity is one of the best villains in sci-fi history. Played brilliantly by Chiwetel Ejiofor. And I totally love that movie. I absolutely love that movie. I'm glad you're giving it some love there, TJ. I appreciate that. All right. Next up, we got Sam Fisher, who writes, 1 of 2. After Monday's topic about Fantastic Four casting, I have always said I wanted Fantastic Four to be a period piece where Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben are 1960s Apollo-era astronauts that go missing on a mission after being bombarded with cosmic rays while going through a wormhole or the quantumverse, and they arrive in the present, but for them, it's only been about 30 minutes or so. Kind of like what Endgame did with Ant-Man and what Lightyear seems to be doing. But here's the problem with that, Sam. Like, I've heard other people say that, and I don't mind the idea. But here's the problem. Marvel already did that with Captain America. Right? You have Captain America, who's from a different era, who, in his case, frozen in ice, comes out of the ice. For him, it just happened. Comes out of the ice, and it's a whole different world now. And now he's a fish out of water. He's a man out of time. He's in a new era now. They've already done that. And my fear would be if they were to do something like that with Fantastic Four, while they could totally make it work, they could. But mine going to be, didn't you already do this? Like, oh, we're characters from a different era. But then whether it's trapped in ice or in a wormhole or whatever, but we did, and we come out in a new era. Oh, what are we going to do? We're fish out of water. Like, they already did that with Captain America. So if they do it, I'm not going to mind. But I am going to raise an eyebrow to see how they can make it distinct from what they did with Captain America. Because again, they've already kind of done that plot device of theirs. Anyway, thanks for writing that in, Sam. And we'll see what they do with it. All right. Final question of the day, guys, comes to us from Jerome, who writes, how can the MCU truly get rid of the idea that they are a fake death universe? For example, if Iron Man and Captain America don't come back, and if characters who died in Phase 4 stay dead, would that be enough? Yes. Yeah. Like, if you're going to kill a character, don't kill a character unless you're actually killing them. That's it. That fixes it. You go 4 or 5 years in a row where when a character dies in one of your movies, they actually die. They're actually gone. I've expressed this before. You know how I was talking about a little bit earlier, like when Tom Holland died in the movie, I didn't really feel it a lot because I just knew he's coming back. Every time we see Loki die, I don't really feel it because we just know he's coming back. You know, all that kind of stuff. Here's the difference. When I was watching Sons of Anarchy, and some of you may have heard me make this comparison before, but when I was watching Sons of Anarchy, one of my favorite shows ever, my favorite character on the show was Ope, right? And in the episode where Ope died, that hit me like a ton of bricks. And the reason it hit me like a ton of bricks was, yeah, I love the show and yeah, I love the character, but here's the thing. I knew it was final. That's it. Ope is gone. There's no coming back from the dead in Sons of Anarchy. Or most, regular television. There's no coming back from the dead. So when Ope died, the grief as an audience member hit me so deeply because I knew as he died, he was now gone. That's it. I'm not going to see Ope again in this show, unless it's in a flashback or something like that, right? I'm not going to see Ope again. He's gone. And so that what that means in a show like Sons of Anarchy or Breaking Bad or things like that is that when characters are in peril, the tension is 10 times higher and 10 times better because you know what's at stake. If this character dies, and in shows like Sons of Anarchy or Game of Thrones or whatever, where like literally your favorite characters could die any episode. So when they're in danger, you feel the danger because they may actually die. And if they die, they're really gone. Unlike, say, the MCU, which there's no real stakes, or because, yeah, you can kill them, we'll bring them back. It doesn't really, you know what I mean? So it takes away from that dramatic tension that you get. But yes, to answer your question, Jerome, the way you fix that is try going 4 or 5 years now with, I won't even say none, limit it to one. In the next 4 or 5 years, have one fake death. Instead of 2 every TV show and movie you do, try to go 4 or 5 years in a row where if a character dies, they actually die and they don't come back. I think that would right the ship for you. And then every once in a while, maybe every 3 years, do a fake death. And I think we can live with that. I think you do one every 3 to 4 years, then that's just enough to give you surprise, while also enough to make you think that if this character dies, they're actually going to stay dead, right? Because it's very rare that they bring them back. You know what I mean? So I think that would fix it. All right, guys, listen. That's all the time I have for today. There are still a couple of more questions to come from Dangerous D, more from Jerome, Paul, Star Guy, Adam, and one or two others. Do not worry, guys. We're going to do another mailbag tomorrow, of course, and we will get caught up on all those and all the brand new ones that come in. Like I said, we just got 4 or 5 more to go here, but then all the new ones we have tomorrow, we will have another episode of Mailbag. We hope to see you then. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to come back for the John Campea Show tomorrow. It's going to be me, and it's going to be a good day. It's No Pants Wednesday. It's going to be me, Chris Carr, Aaron Cummings. Hope you guys will join us for that. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for me for now. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.